So I think we can start. Uh, this session is just to get in touch and to speak a little about what is Shaivism and why it's maybe interesting to follow these lessons. I think most of you already know a little about it from the internet, from the books. But I think most of you don't know nothing about me, so I will start introducing myself. My name is Sebastian, and I am from Romania, from Brașov. It's a little town in the mountains in Romania, and here we have a little center, yoga center. I think the first Hridaya center, we can brag about it, even if it's small. It's the first place where for a long period of time we hold retreats and workshops and such things. And I am part of the team that is here in the Kamala Center. I started yoga a long time ago. I was 16 years old, and I started with Simona and then with Sahaja. And for sure, I was intrigued by them because it was very interesting to see a very unusual combination between a love for beauty and poetry and music, and in the same time this spirituality that manifested in a very scholastic way. And for sure, then I learned that a part of this is owed to this Shaiva way. The Shaivism is interesting because it's a tantric way, and yes, in the West, Tantra has a bit of bad name or a strange name because for a long time was associated with sexuality, sacred sexuality, but nevertheless sexuality, and some people took advantage of this, and there were a lot of stories, a lot of problems from this. But the tantric way, it's about appreciating the world and finding beauty and sacredness inside everyday activities. Usually it's presented like an antithesis to Advaita, and for sure Hridaya, it's a very interesting thing because it has at its source the teachings of Ramana, which followed Advaita, but in the same time has at its core this tantric way. And although it seems that it's a difficult way to get along these different parts, you can see that it is quite nice. So in Advaita, what is happening is that the world is considered Maya, illusion, and to to reach God or godness, it's important to renounce the world and get out of the world and be an ascetic or a monk and just do your meditation and etc. etc. But in the end, also God is outside the world, is transcendent. It has nothing to do with the world. The world is just an illusion that keeps you away from the divine, from the sacredness, and so and so. The Tantris, in contrast, it's about finding God inside the world. But sure, finding God maybe is not what every person wants from the life, but I don't know, someone wrote something, but in German I don't speak. Getting back, we can ask ourselves, okay, what is Tantra doing for me if I don't want to get to God or to something like this, and I'm not a religious person? And also interesting, there is a tantric Buddhism, or the Buddhist way. It's not about God, it's about anything else but God. So the Tantris works there as well. So what is about Tantra is that Tantra means finding spirituality in the little things. Because you see, the life, it's about little things. Usually we think about happiness and good things in life coming in the big package, something that throws us away, and we are swept by this happiness. But what it's happening in our life is that life is a series of small events, small things. And usually our mind discards them and considers them not important because they are so little. So, I don't know, just sitting on the couch and reading a book or washing the dishes or taking a hike are little things, and we are not considering them to be the goal of life. But what I try to say is that in Tantris we learn that life in these little things, it's about sacredness and worshipping life and God and everything. So it has to do with what is called non-dualism. The dualist view, it's like the world is here, the God is here, and between them it's a distance, and you cannot be one with God, you cannot be God. They are separate and always be. You can get the favor of God, you can ask God for things, and He may or may not give them to you, but there is this distance. In non-dualism, everything is God. This is the main idea of non-dualism. Everything is God. There is nothing outside of God, of sacredness. Let's not use the word God too often. Everything is sacred. And discovering this thing, it's what Tantra and Shaivism wants. But for sure, we start in a dualist view. Even if we read about these kind of things, everything is God, everything is sacred. When we look around us, we see that it's not like this. We are little things, little people in the big world, and it's difficult to find this sacredness. And for sure, for this reason, we learn about different practices, different things to do to change this. So the word Tantra, it's interesting because usually when you read different books that want to explain it, usually they explaining is like a wave, like a cloth of pattern, and sure, at first this was the meaning, but later Tantra become a theory, a doctrine, or usually it's like a book, like Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. So there are a lot of books called Tantra in which is exposed a view on the world or a doctrine or a theory about how to live, find happiness and peace in life and such things. For sure, like I said in the beginning, there is these things about sexuality. Sexuality is part of the world. It's not different from drinking. Sure, is different, but not that different from doing the things usually you do in life. So for this reason, is integrated in the practices of Tantra. Like everything you do, it can be sacred, and sure, sexuality it's a part of this, but it's not the main focus or the only focus. It's what I'm trying to say. So in Shaivist Tantras, like Vijnana Bhairava that already mentioned, from 112 methods of meditation, only 2 had to do with sexuality, and just in the way that if you are aware in a moment when you make love, you can find something special, you can get that non-duality. And the second sutra is just about if you don't make love, simply remembering that you made love at some point can help you get non-duality. So you see that it's about like very few things in this way. So how will this course will be? This is just an introduction, so it doesn't have a very structured thing. When we start the classes next week, we will treat various subjects and in detail. The structure will be like we will have some theory. You already seen on the presentation about what subjects we will touch. They are like classical Shaivit things, and they are in need of explaining so that we are clear about what we will do and practice. And after this theory thing, which will be around 3/4 or half an hour, we will present a practice and then we will practice it. So the practice will be around, I don't know, maybe more than half an hour, less than an hour, around that point, which will be usually a kind of meditation. For this reason, we mentioned that these kind of classes are for those people that already love to meditate and practice meditation, because it's about going deeper in our practice. It's not about learning now the way to meditate. But if you are new to this, the practices are not that hard, but sure they are more accessible for those who have experience in the meditative practice. Not the first lesson, but the second lesson, we will learn about a way of using meditation to understand different things. It's called bhavana, and it's a very important practice, and it's not something new. Don't worry about it. It's maybe a new way to look at meditation, to put it that way. For sure, understanding this practice will help the Hridaya meditation, but all kinds of meditative practices. So, sure, in the first lesson, we will learn also, we will practice more than learn meditation, but from the second lesson, we will get to the heart of Shaivic practice and the way in which it helps us to deepen our Hridaya meditation, because I think most of you, if not all, are already Hridaya practitioners. If you are not, also please write to me and I will try to explain about it, so you are not very lost in this. So this is the way that things will go. Also, there will be a lot of Sanskrit words. I will try to write them on the screen somewhere, such so that my pronunciation will not be an impediment in learning that words. And we will use these Sanskrit words alongside their translation, because usually they are not there are not good translations for those words. For example, chit, which means usually is translated by consciousness, but consciousness is not the whole thing about chit. Chit means much more, because usually when we think about consciousness, we think about our consciousness now, which is like I am aware of this thing or that thing. But chit is about divine consciousness, which sure we have, but we are not yet aware of this divine consciousness. And also it's not just divine consciousness, because just putting an adjective next to chit is next to consciousness, not change the way we look about this. So we will use chit and sure we say consciousness, Chit, so that we know that even if we refer of this Chit as consciousness or divine consciousness or cosmic consciousness, it's about that thing that it's called in Sanskrit Chit. And there will be some words that we want to keep in this way, to keep in Sanskrit. Even if it's a little bit difficult. In preparing for this course, I read a book in which all the Sanskrit words were translated, and it was very difficult to know about what that person meant, because he for sure mentioned the Sanskrit word at the beginning of the book, but it was very hard to understand. So for this reason, I want you to become accustomed, familiar with these Sanskrit words, even if it's a bit difficult. So there will be this little problem. For sure, another problem is the way I speak English. I hope it will get better with practice, but I hope also that you understand me. If you don't understand me, just open your mic and ask what I meant to say when I said something. Now, getting back to what Shaivism is and Tantra is. So the Shaivism gets its name from Shiva. Shiva, sure, it's a dualistic word. Dualistic in the sense that for most of the people, it represents a deity, a god, part of the trinity of Hinduism, in which there is Brahma, which creates the world, there is Vishnu, which maintains the world, and it's Shiva, who in a way destroys the world, but more accurately gets the world back in the differentiation of the beginning. So usually when we refer to Shiva, like this little statue of Nataraja, the Shiva as a dancer, or also this one, which is Shiva meditating with a trident in the hand and a small drum in the other hand. Usually those are like dualistic views, Shiva as a person. And at first it helped us to create a relationship with this concept, because Shiva is not, for sure, is not a person, is not a human with 4 hands dancing on a demon of forgetfulness. For sure, is not. But it's easier for our mind to create this kind of relationship with this concept. But in Shaivism, Shiva is this consciousness, supreme, absolute consciousness, which is in a relationship with Shakti, with energy. And from this play between consciousness and energy, the world is created. So they are a little bit abstract, you know. So, and already when we speak about this play between consciousness and energy, we start to be in this dual world, because for sure there is no unity when we speak about two things. In Shaivism, though, Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and energy, are viewed as one. They are not separated. sure, there is this kind of, they are always making love, creating in this way the world, but they are always united. There is this saying in Tantra, Shiva without Shakti is Shava. Shava means, from Shavasana, means corpse. It's a lifeless body. And Shakti without Shiva, it's chaos. It's energy without purpose, and it's chaotic. So they are always together to create harmony and beauty. And Shaivism gets his name from this consciousness. And even if it speaks about Shiva, it is always implied Shakti, because they always together. To differentiate between this play of Shiva Shakti, of consciousness and energy, there is an Paramat Shiva, which is the supreme Shiva, is beyond Shiva, which is about this transcendent aspect of divinity. Transcendent means that in this worldview, God or divinity has two aspects: transcendent, which is beyond understanding and world, and immanent, present in the world, being in all the things of the world. So Shiva and Shakti, consciousness and energy, are this immanent aspect of the divinity. They are present in everything. And what we try doing the practices of Hridaya and Shaivism is to start to view this, to see this presence of divinity in everything. And this creates a thing that in Shaivism and in Sufism and in all this mystical tradition is viewed like an aesthetic appreciation of the world. It's like you see beauty in every little thing. Gupta, which is one of the most renowned masters of this tradition, actually speaks about this thing, and I will try to read you this small passage from his works. And he says like this: for if a color passing through the eyes is a source of pleasure, this is due to the separation of the great emission, which consists of the arousal of vitality and a little further. So someone want to ask something, or was just an accident with the microphone? So Gupta says that color that passes through the eyes to be a source of pleasure is due to this separation of emission. Separation of emission says that God becomes like something that we can see. Otherwise, if he remains in that transcendence, we cannot access it in any way. So then he goes further and says the wonder we feel, it's limited to the degree in which this vitality does not feed the consciousness. For the complete absence of the wonder, it's in effect an absence of life. So you see, for Gupta, this capacity to wonder, to feel wonderment and see beauty everywhere, it's about be alive. If you are not enjoying the world and what you experience, then there is a problem for Abhinav Gupta. It's like you are dead. And actually, Rumi at some point says something very similar in that poem, in which he says, if you cannot enjoy the world, you are like a dead fish. Why are you like a dead fish in this wondrous sea of the world? So, and Abhinavagupta continues his saying, after he says that the complete absence of wonder is an absence of life. Conversely, aesthetic receptivity, being endowed with the heart, so having a heart, the Hridaya concept, to experience the world with a heart, is to be immersed in the intense state of wonder, consisting in this arousal of vitality. Only he whose heart is fed by this infinite and nourishing vitality of consciousness, only he who is dedicated to the constant practice of taking delight in this form of pleasure, only he and none other is endowed with ability to feel wonder. So, sure, what Abhinavagupta is saying here, that if you live with the heart open, you experience this wonder. And this capacity to feel wonder, it's about being alive. When you start enjoying the things in life and only think about the future possibilities and what you will get somewhere along the line when every star is aligned and, I don't know, rainbows and unicorns appear. Sure, you can wait a long time and life is passing by. This is the problem. So this aesthetic delight we enjoy, viewing something beautiful or hearing something beautiful, it's about knowing God, actually. They say in Shaivism that using our senses, actually we worship the divine. It's like every experience we have, it's a form of sacrifice, of offering. And sure, what makes it so, it's this awareness that we arouse by the meditation and all the practices. Because you see, when this awareness becomes all-encompassing and we start to see the unity in this world, then for sure we start to enjoy more our life. It's maybe a bit hard to explain, but I think all people have this experience when they see something that they truly enjoy, that gives them this wonderment. Unfortunately, we usually think that it has to be something extraordinary. Some student said that for him this wonderment appeared when he saw the sky reflected in the mud, in the puddle after rain. So in such a small thing, he saw this wonderment. And what we will try by this is to learn about how this can be possible. It's not a simple thing to do, and if it were simple, I think all the people who are living already this. It needs some transformation, but I think it is worth the while, the effort. And for sure, there is a very complex thing about Shaivism and the way they put this forward, these teachings. But we will try to together to make it more accessible. And for sure, when Sahaja first asked me if I want to do this, I was a little scared. I was a little afraid that it's a very difficult task. But then, for sure, after getting in touch with this willingness to share this love for Shaivism, I started to be more excited and happy about what will be coming. It's hard in this introduction not to get into the heart of the matter and just wait to get step by step everything. Because for example, I want to get in the differentiation between different ways of Shaivism, and for sure, every time we speak about spiritual tradition, we have this impression that it's a very, very clear thing and straight. Like, I think all of you, when you first learned about yoga, you had that impression that yoga is a very clear thing, and everybody on this world practice yoga, the same thing. But then you saw that there is that kind of yoga, that kind of yoga, that kind of yoga suits you, that kind of yoga not so much, and you started to see these differences. The same thing about Tantric way. There is Shaiva Tantra, there is Vishnu Tantra, there is Buddhist Tantra, there's a lot of things called Tantra, although they all have this enjoyment of the world and using the world to advance in spirituality. They are different in the way they are doing this. Also, the Shaivism, the Kashmir Shaivism, especially, is not a single thing. There are a lot of traditions which have some things in common. There are different things about them. Abhinava Gupta tried to unify them in a single vision that he called Trika, but after him they diverged again. We will not try to explain everything, because of course it's very difficult, if not impossible, but we will try to see what is of use for us in what we already do in Hridaya and our kind of meditation. And I think this is the thing that Shaivism brings and is different from other tradition, this kind of understanding and practice together. They called it Paurucha Jnana and Bauddha Jnana Jnana. So Paurusha is the practice knowledge. I practice, and by practicing I learn, I get experience and know how to do things. But also it's important to have this theory covered, to understand what I experience. And it's the same in Buddhism and in all tradition. There is now something like a lot of people think that practice alone is enough. And if they really practice and practice and practice, it's enough. They will get all the knowledge that they need. And sure, it's not wrong, but it's slow. Because if you understand what you practice, then you can find new possibilities and expand your view and take maybe a different path, understanding what you experience and understanding that some other people have some similar experiences, and this is helping you. So in Shaivism, it's a big accent put on this Bauddha jnana, theoretical knowledge, sharpening the mind to understand better the reality and the experiences that we have, and integrated this knowledge into the practice. So you will see a lot of things that are explained in Shaivism are very useful, like understanding this pattern of creation, maintaining, dissolution, and then that void of non-differentiation, of transcendence. It's a pattern that it's everywhere in life. Some things go into the existence, exist for a while, go out of existence, and stay in that non-differentiated state, and then at some point another form comes to existence, and such and such. Our life is like this. Yes, we come into existence when we wake up in the morning, exist for a while in this world, during the day do our business, and then in the night we go in that undifferentiated state of deep sleep, or hopefully deep sleep and some dreams, and we start all over again in the morning. This in Shaivism is called the 5 actions of Shiva. Sure, we spoke about 4, but in Shaivism they speak about creation, maintaining, dissolution, and then there is hiding, obscuration, or the mystery, and then revelation, the grace. So Shiva does these things every time, and understanding this way can help our practice. You know, as little as practicing Hatha Yoga, it's like this practice in which we prepare for doing an asana. In Hridaya, I speak about Hridaya because we practice in this way. We prepare for the practice, and in that moment, what we will be, it's hidden. We know that we will do an asana, but we don't know exactly what the experience will be. So then there is this phase in which we get into the asana, and in Hridaya we do this in a very aware way, in a very conscious way, slowly getting to the posture, to the asana. And this is the creation phase. We create the asana. Asana is not just bending our body in various ways, but it's a creation of an experience. So we get to that experience getting our body prepared and ready and bending it in the way the asana requires. Then there is maintaining, so we stay in that asana and we stay for as long as we can, trying not to move, trying to open ourselves to the experience, trying to be centered in the heart and such and such. And then for sure we have to get back, and this resorption phase in which we get back to the neutrality of the first pose, and we try to be aware of the experience and such and such. And then there is that phase of awareness. We don't go immediately to the next pose, but we have this phase of awareness in which we have this revelation of the effects of this pose. So you see, in our practice, we have this creation, maintaining, resorption, and hiding and revealing of things. Again, the meditation is the same, because we start the meditation in that mysterious state in which we don't know what will happen, and then we sit in the posture and prepare ourselves, creating the things that are good for meditation. Then there is maintaining, we meditate, we try to meditate to keep our mind in one place and ask ourselves, who am I, and such and such. And then sure, there is a point when we have to get back, and you see, the life is like this. And this is one of the examples. Sure, we will discuss this in a class for itself, but just to understand how the things are connected. And now, if you have questions, like I said, this is not a structured lesson, it's just to get acquainted and know each other and see what are your interests, and maybe change some things about what we will learn if you want something specific. So I think if you want to ask the question, just open your mic.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this. I'm super excited to join you all on this journey. And I just had a question. If you could touch on how the two non-dual, or maybe the most well-known non-dual schools and traditions of Advaita Vedanta and this non-dual Kashmir Shaivism, how do they support each other and come together or intersect? And maybe where they diverge. And because I know with Hridaya Yoga and the retreats, we definitely touched on a lot of aspects of both. So I think it's beautiful how Hridaya really does bring them together in a supportive way. So I'm just curious how, maybe we could touch on that throughout the course as well. And maybe you already have that plan, but I'm just a little bit more curious on that as well. Thank you.
Yes, is the question usually, because both speak of this non-dualist thing, and both want to get to this point in which we are one with God. The non-dualist view is that we are one with God. The difference, and I want to understand that the Shaivis and the Advaita want the same thing, to be one with God. But the difference, and sure, this one with God implies that answer to the question, who am I? Yes, this self-knowledge. But the way they do it, it's different in this approach. Usually, not in Hridaya, but usually in Advaita, they say that the world is an illusion and has to be denied. So I don't want to be attached on anything, and I don't want to be part of the world. I don't usually, in the traditional way, how do I say this without usually it's this negation of the world. I don't know how to say it more. It's like in Advaita, usually they are celibate, so they don't have relationships. The sexuality is like a big no-no, because it will take your mind from the God and you will forget about God. And if you certainly, if you read I don't know, Ramakrishna or Ramana, there is this kind of don't take your mind from God, and the God is viewed like something there, is not here. And if you are in this here, then you cannot be there. So usually in Advaita is this negation of the world. World is Maya, world is here to get you, to keep you from attaining God, and for this reason it's better to keep the distance. This, I think this is the better way to say it. Keep the distance from the world. In Shaiva and in Tantrism in general, the world is the mean. The world is God. So open your eyes, open your heart, open your awareness, and discover this reality. This doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. So usually Tantra is viewed like riding a tiger. You know, it's difficult because the tiger always tries to bite you. So it's very difficult. Or walking on the edge of the sword. Very, very thin edge, and it's very easy to fall on the side. But and for sure there is some view in which, okay, go to the God as fast as you can, but then come back with that vision and put it in the world and view the world with these new eyes that God is in everything. So I think Shaivism is somewhere in the middle, that it says, okay, use everything you can to get as fast as you can to God, but then enjoy the world. The world is here for enjoyment. Actually, this is a very, very beautiful way to look at the world. They said the world is a play of God. And by this, they mean that the metaphor is like God is an actor and spectator and the stage in the same time. So he play all the parts, it's all the actors, in the same time is all the spectators and the stage. And they say that God is coming into the world to enjoy the world. But this enjoyment doesn't mean always a pleasure, like we think of pleasure. But for God, is like it's an interesting experience. So in Hindu art, Gupta also wrote a lot about art and theater and dance and such, because he think that art is an expression of this seeing the beauty in everything. And he said that if you want to have a successful form of art, of play, you cannot have the same, he called it rasa, essence of experience. So if you, for example, if you want to make a comedy, if that comedy is joke after joke after joke after joke, 2 hours, you become bored. So usually a comedy, like a romantic comedy, have some drama in it, have some suspense, have some action, and such and such. And usually in a romantic comedy, there is a moment in which there are crying and suffering and such, but in the end, everything is okay. And yeah, but you see, this doesn't stop us from enjoying that romantic comedy, that little drama and that little suffering. So what the Tantra and Shaiva says that is that if you look from the God perspective, every experience is interesting, even if it means that you are suffering. Yeah, if you have a toothache, if you are paying attention to that toothache, it's interesting. Yeah, but if you are scared and upset and repulse that experience, you don't get anything from it, you know. So this tantric view, it's about experience the world with eyes wide open, with heart wide open, being full aware of what is happening. And I think this makes life more interesting and more full. Because you see, if you are avoiding everything that is not super interesting and not super extraordinary, and waiting and waiting and waiting for that extraordinary things to happen, you miss out a lot of things in life. And for sure, life is mixed. There are good things, bad things, honest things, boring things. Yes, but if you can find this view, nothing is boring anymore. Nothing is avoidable anymore. You don't want to swipe it under the rug and forget about it. And you meet every experience with this kind of openness. And for sure, this means that sometimes you get hurt and suffer, but this is life. Yes. In say, let's say Advaita view, you say, okay, this is an illusion. I will go into the monastery, into the cabin in the woods, and there nothing will touch me, and I will be safe, just me and God, and everything will be perfect. And usually it doesn't work like this, because you take your mind with you in the retreat, in the forest, and such and such. But yes, you can try that and try that and see what is working for you, because both of them are valid. Yes, I don't want to say that you have to choose between them, and Hridaya, it's a good example that you don't have to choose. You can do both. You can go to a retreat in which you keep your distance from the world and experience things and get in touch with your heart and with your higher self and such, and then go back to the world and experience the world and try to bring that openness and heartfulness to the world and see what's happened. And if it doesn't work, go back to retreat and such and such. It's the way we do the things in Hridaya. So, if you have other questions. And I want to stress this. The questions you can ask at any point, because for sure some things may be a little bit difficult to understand, and if you wait until the end, maybe you will forget about the questions, or you think that the question was already answered, but is not, because you see, when you have this dialogue, it's easier to understand the subject in comparison with you just listened from start to finish. And yes, I hope that we can have a dialogue and not just a monologue every time, because you will see it will be much easier to understand. We don't have to get all the theory in or all the practice in. It's more important to make this understanding, and for sure it doesn't help you, it helps also me to clarify the things and put them in perspective. So this is not just for today, for every lessons that we will be together. For this reason, I try to have you in view and have this option to just open your mic and speak, not just to wave your hand and wait for someone to give you access and such. For sure, there will be some chaos at some point when 2 or 3 will open the mic, but I think we can manage this.
Maybe I would have a question that
Yes,
no one else wants
please.
to ask. Hello, Michaela here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I wanted to ask that you were mentioning that everybody here probably knows how you are meditating in your school, but I'm very, very new. This is probably my first touch with your school. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about it, or do you think I should have any experience prior?
Yes.
Or
you are new to Hridaya or to Kamala?
To Hridaya.
To Hridaya, you are new to Hridaya.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Hridaya, it's the word Hridaya. Actually, we borrowed from Shaivism when we named the school, when Sahaja named the school. It means the heart, not the physical heart, but the spiritual heart. So we combined our experiences. Each of us had like more than 30 years of yoga practice and experiences. So each of us 30 years, some more, some less, but each of us. And we combine this experience to to get to this idea of Hridaya, which at the core of it is that the most important thing, spiritual thing, and regardless of your chosen way, it's this: know yourself, know who you are, who you really are. And when I say who you really are, it's because usually when we are asked, who are you? We tend to answer with a name, a function, a relation, but that is not who we really are. So this question, who am I, it's at the core of this practice. And for sure, it's not a question that we ask with our mind. It's not like a question who has an answer. This is the paradox of Hridaya, because there is no answer to this question. The answer to the question is existence itself. So what we try to find out asking this question is, what is the nature of existence? What it means to be alive, to exist in this world or in all the worlds. So all the practices that we do are centered around this, finding the answer to this fundamental question. And for sure, there are various methods, and most frequent, usual one is this kind of retreats that Sahaja and other teachers are doing, in which we spend our time asking and trying to answer this question, who am I? And for sure, there is a whole thing about this question, why it's important for us, even if we don't have anything about spirituality, why it's important for us as a person, because it has to do with happiness, enjoying life, living a more full life. And for this reason, it's important for us to find this answer. And this Shaivism, it's another way to ask and answer this question. I hope this helps. And for sure, in the lessons that we will do, we will look at this from various perspectives, because it's very important. Even in Buddhism, where they said there is no Atman, there is no self, they still try to answer, who am I? Yes, and it's important. Even if you don't have faith in God or divine, or it's important to understand what is to be alive, what is to exist. And that because usually we tend to associate this existence with various things. So usually we say, I am happy, I am sad, I am woman, I am man, I am old, I am young. Yes, from I am usually follow something, but what it means to just be, what it means I am, before being something, someone, such. So, any more questions? This is the hard part every time to find the questions. But sure, I hope that we will find our pace, and we will not be afraid to just ask anything that crosses your mind, because again, the dialogue is more efficient than the monologue. And I think you already seen that. And to get back to Tantrism and Tantra, a lot of these tantric texts are a dialogue. Usually someone asks, depends on the category of the text. It's Shakti asking Shiva, or it's Shiva asking Shakti, but the texts usually are a dialogue and question and answer. And a lot of spiritual texts, especially in India and in Orient, have this structure, because usually they were like this. Someone asks something and someone tried to find an answer, and sure, a lot of time the answer and the question are together. You know that saying that if you ask a question, you already know like a lot of the answer. So I will not try to to get some question from you this time, and we will see each other the next time, next week, and there will be some some changings in the way that we presented that order. Because, like I said, the next week for sure will be that introduction with various school of Shaivism, what means Shaivism, what means Trika, and such, and there will be a practice that is specific to Shaivism and is borrowed in Hridaya, you will see. But the next week will be that bhavana, which will get in front of the tattvas and that lessons. And I think there will be small changes because we will see what is necessary to be first and to get a nice way. When I thought about it, I just wanted to get it all at once, but it's not possible. There is this need to arrange them in an order, and this order is subject to change. So please don't be upset that we are not following that exact order. This thing about bhavana become more obvious after we get that order. So this is the first change, and for sure maybe there will be some others, but I hope we will pass them together very well. So if there are no other questions, I wish you I hope for all of you, for most of you, a good night. For others, maybe a good day, and see you again, hopefully next time.
Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here.